Hey, Alpha fam, welcome back to another episode of Alpha Commission. Today on Alpha Commission, of course, we're going to go over some of the pumps in the altcoins as well as just the really just sideways action with Bitcoin hardly moving in price at all. And of course, we do know the reason for that. Volatility is contracting towards near zero levels, right, on the 4 hour, which we did discuss in the previous episode. And you can see this thing is just straining and just pulling itself down. And so, of course, with volatility going low, that means that price action shouldn't be moving that much. Once we see this volatility start curving up, then we can know that perhaps that 4 hour play is, coming into fruition. And so I will keep you abreast of that. Now, guys, what that manifests on the chart is just these sideways 4 hour candles, which really has held quite consistent with the momentum pools that I did outline for you. So if we just turn off that formation for a second, we can see that, of course, price action has just been following my momentum pools to the downside, and then it took a swim in one of the pools, and then it started following it up to the upside. This was a 2 to 5 day projection, so that's why it's extra stretched out. We also had a 2 to 5 day projection yesterday. This is now moot. We have not fallen into it the way that we kind of like climbed into this one. And so basically, we're just crossing it sideways. But you can see that it did tap the top of the projection precisely. And additionally, on yesterday's momentum pool, it tapped the bottom precisely. Okay, guys. So we had made that episode while we were up here. The hopes was that we could continue and even push through this diagonal. But of course, this diagonal has been pretty strong. We just got rejected, rejected, right? So we just keep getting rejected off of this level. And it should have been expected that we would perhaps have another go, just like we keep having another go, and we got rejected. But the momentum pool really did hold, and so this momentum pool has been holding, and it's still holding. So guys, we do see a certain amount of momentum that is carrying us to the upside and just uplifting us. Where at least half of these momentum boxes, like half the depth of it, is just an easy swim, I would say. When I say that we're at the bottom of a momentum pool, we're very easy to drown, right? And if we hang out at the bottom of a momentum pool too long, it's very easy for us to drown and just get buried underneath it. But we've just been casually swimming through the momentum pools, and so this is pretty chill. And then if I delete this a 2 to 5 day projection that I made yesterday, you can see that today's momentum pool is a very, very shallow pool, and we're actually hovering above it. Okay, so you can see we had a little bit of a tap right there, and then we just have been hovering over it. So we're on cloud 9 right now. I consider this bullish. This is bullish price behavior from a momentum perspective. Okay, like this is what we dream about. You can see this was bullish right here, but we kept tapping the bottom of the momentum pool. So this is cool. We're like on cloud 9. We're floating in the air. We're not even sitting by the side of the pool, right? We're actually reaching out for the sun. And if that, volatility play, which is different than momentum, if that volatility that I was just showing you can contract to, near zero and then suddenly expand, we're in a good position to expand to the upside and finally break this downtrend. Now, we do have to contend with the fact that we do have lower highs, and so the fact that we have just a series of lower highs does suggest that this is a distribution triangle that could be formed. And so when we talk about that momentum pool that I just deleted, you can see that the projection does allow us to go all the way down to the bottom of this range. And so we will maintain some of our higher time frame momentum down here. So don't be surprised if we do get rejected off of this level. Again, we've just been rejected. And if we get rejected, one more time, that should be within reasonable expectation of your trade planning. So make sure that you have your stop losses in this area. I highly suggest somewhere around my estimated neutral level, 16,425, or perhaps above the bearish level, 16,375. We will be solidly bearish underneath 15,965, losing the majority of our momentum. And then, of course, we can talk about those, 14,000 targets if we get below, our complete range low here, right? Where perhaps we're distributing to the downside on that bear flag. Guys, we do have a chance to get above this diagonal, and if we can do it, this is going to be your front runnable region here. All right, this is the alpha that I'm delivering for you guys. So if we end up getting into this, basically this sphere right here, whether it happens today or tomorrow, it doesn't really matter, right? The level that we're going to want to beat is 16,845. If we can beat 16,845, there's a very good chance that we're going to be, popping up to around 17,500, maybe 17,800. And how do I justify that? Well, you probably saw a little bit of a preview earlier on in the episode here, where I did have this, this kind of inverted head and shoulders marked out. Now, this isn't the best inverted head and shoulders. The most that we can say is that we have some price action over here. It's not really a clean shoulder, and we have some price action over here. The neckline has not closed yet. The neckline will close somewhere around 16,720. So if you want to front run it, you can possibly get that around 16,700. Let's say 25. If you're over that, if you're putting a couple 4-hour candles above that, then you could say, ooh, this thing might just pop up significantly. Sometimes when we break out of a downtrend, there's like a little pop up and then a check back. Right, so just be aware that we could retest this structure, or it could even be a fake out that brings us back into the triangle. And so you got to be careful when you're doing these breakout trades, okay? If you don't catch the exact moment that it breaks out, you're often FOMOing into the first just pump, and then it comes back and checks down and just wrecks everybody. And sometimes it's even a fake out and you just totally get wrecked, right? And so it is often better to wait for the check back. But the way that some of these altcoins have been popping off, I'm not sure that we're going to necessarily get a check back. But so it's up to you how you manage your risk in this area. But what I can say is that above 16,845, I would probably just expect that it's going to continue. So one way to manage that risk is just to start your trade at that level rather than the breakout, because the support area really to buy was down here, right? The support area was to buy down here or here, or I mean at least the mid range, right, off of this double bottom here, off of this double bottom here. And so this was actually a little bit of a triple bottom. So, guys, I mean, again, risk management is very important. You don't want to lose money on a bullish trade, right? So, guys, just to pay attention to that. And this is not necessarily perfect, but the reason why I give it a little bit of a credence is, of course, we had this micro head and shoulders, which was the bottom of the play right down here, which is how the Alpha Fam caught the pico bottom of this formation, right? Basically, a double bottom. Plus, we had a measured move down in this area from one of these formations that I had marked out, and then we also on the 8-minute had an inverted head and shoulders, which could lead us up to this area. And then following that one, we actually had a another inverted head and shoulders, which then took us even higher. So, guys, a couple of these inverted head and shoulders have really been just a good solid play in this area. And if we do have another one, right, then so far they've been pretty reliable. I don't know what bots or algorithms or institutions are trading, but they seem to like these type of inverted head and shoulders. So with altcoins popping off, quite randomly, in fact, probably front running a Bitcoin move, I would just suggest, and us also being in this bullish kind of preparation zone while our volatility is kind of contracting. It's kind of like stretching the rubber band, right? As soon as that gets flinged, if we're in a bullish bias area, then most likely it's going to be flinged to the upside. If we're in a negative, a bearish biased area, then it might be shot to the downside, right? That's why this kind of neutral level, this estimated neutral, and then this kind of bullish-ish and bearish-ish level that I set aside here, that's why those are so important, even though the real confirmation only comes at these solid levels, right? Those are kind of your big confirmations in terms of momentum, at least. And so, guys, this is what I'm presenting for you. Hope you appreciate that, Alpha. Let's go ahead and just take a look for a second to see what our EMAs are doing. And I can get rid of these drawings. And we can see that we do just have a symphony of EMAs just kind of like holding us in place on the 4 hour. So that does explain why we're kind of just all wrapped up in all of these kind of spidery EMAs. But let's go ahead and take a look at the daily. The daily is getting over the 9 EMA, which is a good sign. Now, I did talk about us being repressed by that 20 simple moving average in the last episode. And sure enough, look, it just pushed us back down to the momentum pool. And then you can see that we're still making that noble effort being uplifted by the 10 simple moving average, this really thin red line right here, as well as the 4 EMA. And so, guys, we are ahead of the 4 EMA. We are ahead of the 9 EMA on the daily. And so this is good stuff. Now, I do see this 20 simple moving average as still kind of a risk that we could bump our head off on. You can see we kind of bumped our head on it over here, bumped our head on it over here. We could bump our head on it again, and this could be the catalyst that just tips us over into that bearish zone, right? Which we're very, very close to that kind of neutral level. So it could be very easy to tip us down below my daily momentum pool. And if that does happen, then that could be what carries us down to the bottom of the range before we end up checking back to the upside. Or even if that daily volatility does start expanding, it could just be the nail in the coffin. So guys, these levels that I mark out for you, they're very important, okay? That 16,450, that 16,374, those levels really are important for maintaining some possibility of expanding one way or the other. And this is all statistical, right? Nothing is guaranteed in life. And so trading, if a whale just dumps a ton of Bitcoin or something, then the whole market could go crashing, and no setup can prevent that. So let's go back to looking at our EMAs. If, however, we are able to get above that, that 20 simple moving average, which is 16,652, then yeah, that's that kind of front runnable area that I was talking about, right? This kind of circle right here. And you can see that if we got halfway between the 20 simple moving average and the 21 EMA, then probably that's going to be enough to have a squeeze play between the 9 and the 21 over here, which could end up taking us as high as 16,000, 600-ish, right? So basically squarely in between this zone that I had marked out here based upon the measured move of this inverted head and shoulders, right? So guys, like, we're having some confluence here with the possibility of having a pop up to this area, maybe wicking somewhere below, 18,000, maybe slightly above 17,500, which would probably be a good place to take your profits because if Bitcoin starts pulling back, the rest of the market will pull back. Of course, if we do get on top of that and start defeating some of these other bosses, then things could start looking pretty bullish pretty fast. But otherwise, I would suggest it's just another lower high, and then perhaps we're going to work our way back down, having captured that liquidity. Having captured that liquidity, the market makers are going to have enough fuel to basically drive this market down in a longer term. So lots of things up in the air, but that would be the tradable play that I'm seeing today. I don't know about other guys, but that's what I'm seeing. And then that's the daily. So let's just go ahead and jump over to the 5-day to see what we're looking at. You can see that the 5-day has actually conquered one of these EMAs. It has conquered the the 4 simple moving average, which in my experience has been a pretty bullish sign. So if you can see that we captured the 4 simple moving average over here, and it was just up from there. Now we did have a knockdown, right? We did have a knockdown before we ended up making that move, but it was always a clear sign that we were going to perhaps capture some of those higher EMAs before making a perhaps a lower high even. So look, we captured the 4 simple moving average. We had a knockdown and then we continued up, right? Captured the 4 simple moving average, knockdown, moved up, right? Captured the 4 simple moving average, a knockdown back down to here, and then we just went for it. So this pattern just has been remaining true for as long as we've been in this downtrend on the 5-day. And so for me, I do think that we did reach that local bottom. The Alpha Fam did snag the bottom of that little microstructure right there, like to, to the precision. On the 8-minute chart, we grabbed the bottom with the possibility of making a higher low, and sure enough, we did it. Also, our friends at the AR Collective, they also snagged that bottom. Shout out to Crypto Athena. She just, made a decision based upon her intuitive understanding of trading, and from whatever her, probably support and resistance concepts were, made that trade as well. So, 2 different styles of trading grabbed the same Pico bottom. So, just a shout out to the AR and also the Alpha Fam. Guys, we are just a kind of middling around in here, however, so, unless we get a nice squeeze, the next stop based upon this, a 5-day, would also be that 17,600. So, a lot of confluence with 17,600. Let's go over to the weekly and see what that looks like. Now on the weekly, we are really below the 4 simple moving average as well as the 4 EMA, and these are gonna look they are gonna look like they're gonna be crossing into a what I call an alpha 9 knockout, because it happens so often on when the nines cross over. But what that means is basically that pullback, we might have a pullback before we pop up. So just to be careful, that is on the weekly, and the weekly does have 4 days left to go with it. So I'm not sure if the major move in this area is going to take another week. That would be pretty normal. You can see how stretched out this area is. You can see how stretched out this area is. Let's just go up here. Again, you can see how many weeks this took, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, right? And then you can count this one also. It's like 8 weeks. And then here's the top of the market. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? We had like 8, we had basically like 8 weeks over here until we kind of maxed out and dumped again. And so we're only 2 weeks into this. And so, guys, if we spent another week going kind of sideways, just got a little bit chop up and down, and even had a knock to the downside again, and then worked our way up. Just again, like, don't be surprised. I keep repeating that, but this market has just been showing us time and time again what's possible on the charts, and so you have to be reasonable. You have to be patient. This market rewards patience. However, one thing that I would note is that we do sometimes see just like a very quick pop up, just like right here. Right, this was essentially 2 weeks, so we do have to be prepared that that move could come, especially as we monitor that daily volatility, which is essentially joining the 4 hour. And if I look at the 4 hour, you can see just how ready to go it is. But if we look at the daily, you can see that the daily really quickly wants to catch up with it. And so, could this end up just taking us down really quickly, because this has been mostly downward price action. Could we just have one more down and then it gets ready for a pop up, right? And that maybe that's that kind of alpha 9 knockout that we get with the forwards crossing over. Then yeah, I mean it's possible. So we do have to pay attention to this. There could be more sideways. There could be a little bit of a shakeout on the Bitcoin chart before we have the pop up. But again, guys, like the 4 hour is more or less ready to go, and it is still curved to the downside, so we will want to wait for a positive curve, at least over this 5% level, and then a 10% to a 20%. You can almost be sure that the move is happening, but if you want to be in your position somewhere around 5 to a 10%. And let's go ahead and just pop over here to quickly just take a look at what the rest of the week is telling us with these EMAs. Let's see. It is suggesting that the 300 is over here around 18,000. And so, yeah, so the weekly EMAs are also telling us that this 9 EMA is going to come down, probably around 18,000. The 300 is going to be continuing to rise, but it's still going to be there around 18,000. So again, another chart showing us that 18,000 is a potential limit on this move, whatever the next move is going to be to the upside. Whenever that happens, we don't have, a crystal ball, can't figure out the exact timing. But whenever that happens, the upper limit is probably going to be around 18,000 before it just meets some very serious stiff resistance. And the general consensus is that 17,500, 17,600 is going to be a limit if we just look at what the chart's telling us. And then we could even have a little bit of a pop up, you know, as much as like 17,000, and then get some type of a check back, kind of some type of little scary check back before we continue the rest of the move. And however, that should, unless we break something to the downside, which is always possible, right? I showed you how that could happen. But if we don't break something to the downside, if we don't break our lows, then most likely we're going to catch support again, a little bit of a triple bottom. We do have the possibility for a bit of a diagonal right here, right? So just based upon this wick right here and this wick, there's a little bit of a diagonal going on there. And so we could come all the way down as low as right above my oh no anyway line, and we could still catch just the little bit of momentum that we have left. And then having shaken out the market completely, we could just pop back up. So don't be surprised if this ends up resulting in an alpha 9 knockout that brings us to the bottom of the range, and then we pump up to that perhaps 17.5 to $18,000 level, sort of like what we did here, right? This thing kind of just went down, it went up, and then it came back down again. And then, if we come back down again, maybe we get to that 14,000, and then maybe we kind of, make a bigger move up. Not sure. That's just what I'm thinking out loud, how I'm kind of working through these EMAs in my head. And so that's what I'm looking at right now. And again, in terms of the day, like the day is still looking pretty good, except for that oppressive 20 simple moving average that we keep butting our head on. Sort of like we were butting our head on the 9 over here on the daily. And then that eventually took us down. If we just keep butting our head on this 20 too many times, it's just going to take us down again, and that could be that scary check back that I was talking about. But you have to remember, just because we bump our head on it and we have a check back, you have to understand that this is a bullish cross, right? This a fast moving EMA is crossing over the slow moving SMA, right? Same thing happened here, and look what happened. Yeah, we got dumped down, but eventually we got pulled back up. Yes, we could be getting dumped down, but we have another pair of EMAs crossing bullishly. And so that does suggest to me that we're starting to work our way up as these little spaghetti strings, right, start crossing over bullish, whereas previously they all started very bearish. I hope this episode episode made sense to you. Guys, thank you so much for being subscribers and following along. A lot of people participating in the group discussions. Link to the Discord group is in the description of the video below. I really appreciate all your feedback. Shout out to just the Alpha Fam for making the bear market tolerable, and we're going to keep on just trying to absolutely kill it, not only in the bear market but also in the next bull run. Guys, that was your alpha for the day. Stay safe and happy trading.